Welcome to Hospitality. My name is Stefan Zernecki of Black Tie Tours. With me, as always, Wesley Jones of Tour Cascadia and Cole Rogers, local artist. And we are joined today by some wonderful people. A Mexico City native, as well as an Oregon native by way of Eugene, Oregon. They are vineyard owners, winery owners, and founding member of AHIVOY here in the Willamette Valley. We are joined by Ryan McKay and Sofia Torres-McKay. Thank you so much for having us at your beautiful tasting room.
Thank you so much for having us, for inviting us to your show, Stefan and everybody.
Yeah. This is my first time in the new tasting space. Yeah. So I was blown away because I'd seen a lot of pictures and everything, but seeing it up close is obviously much better. So first, actually, tell us a little bit about what we're drinking, and then tell us a little bit about the space.
Okay, sounds good. So we're going to drink our very first, or we call our inaugural, sparkling, Cramoisi sparkling. This is 2018 sparkling. We're very excited about it. We're going to start releasing this in March. Wonderful. So you will try this. It's not finished, so still dosage. Just taste it and see what you think. Normally, we don't like to give notes, but I would like Ryan to talk about the process of this, just very quick.
Sure. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's the 2018 vintage, so it's been on its lees since 2018. So we're over a couple of years now, and it's really starting to exhibit the characteristics of that yeast breaking down in the bottle, which is where you start to kind of go from kind of just a lean, acidic, crisp wine into something that's got some real texture and starts to get all this other flavor that comes out, the bready notes, the yeasty notes, all that stuff's really starting to come around. And so, we're just about ready to finish it up. So as Sofia mentioned, we're going to do the dosage, and we haven't really decided completely on that yet, but there'll possibly be a little tiny bit of sugar that gets added into the wine as part of that, or maybe not. Just kind of depends on the tasting panel. So
I'm enjoying it as it is. There's like Cole was saying before we started, that yeasty characteristic is coming through really nicely, and there's not a lot of the real yeasty bubbles in the area. They tend to be a little different, a little more crisp, and this is, I think, more for the champagne lovers.
Some are over refined to me a little bit, and I know this is not done, of course, and it's in process, but I think it's fantastic. I love it.
Really enjoying it.
It does have some of those funky characteristics that I look for.
So tell us a little bit about the space, and maybe a little bit about the journey to getting the space done.
Yeah. So we start building. We call it the farmhouse tasting room.
Farmhouse.
As you can tell, it's very farmy looking, very antique-y. This was our dream come true. We wanted to welcome the guests in our beautiful, kind of in the court of our vineyard. So we decided to be here up in the hill. I mean, obviously you cannot see now where we at exactly in the vineyard, but it's up in the hill on the right of the wineries in the Dundee Hills. And we started building in July 2019. And then our plans was to open last year on March 2020, but unfortunately COVID came and we needed to stop the construction completely because the workers, they were afraid to come, and we understood that, right? Sure. We didn't want them to come anyway. And then after a few months, after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, then we start gathering the crews, but not mixing them. So it took us more time to open that. Fortunately, we have Ryan's dad. He's a constructor. He has a building company. Oh, wow. He supposed he was retiring, but we convinced him to help us. This is his last project. This was his last project.
That's family for you.
Yeah. So he obviously didn't charge us anything. He did it with his heart. He really wanted to help us to do this. Wow. And of course, with Ryan, they start really building everything and supervising everything. I just did the interior decoration with my friend Kristen Mendoza, that she has an interior decor company. But I mean, everything was from scratch, obviously, very meticulous about the quality, the same as our wines. We always try to find the best materials. It took us a little bit longer. It took us more money,
Of course.
but we always try to get it to that, like the quality. I don't know if you want to add.
We definitely wanted to give it a real local Oregon flavor. So a lot of the materials are, pretty much everything we tried to get from, something that was around here. So the windows were handmade in East Portland, East Portland sash, 100% Doug fir. There's no plastic or polyester or anything, vinyl or anything like that in them. We got Doug fir timbers. The ceiling is blue pine from Eastern Oregon. Salvage, beetle kill salvage.
Wow.
A lot of things like that. And then the fireplace is Columbia River basalt.
Cool.
One of the most amazing fireplaces I've ever seen. No exaggeration.
Yeah, that's
It is
Ryan's baby.
It is so beautiful. When you walk in, it's the first thing that catches your eye.
Is it an operational fireplace?
Yes.
Absolutely. It's
Yes.
a wood burning, kind
Yeah.
of a throwback.
And have you had any fires in it yet?
Not yet.
We will. Maybe next week. We're going to
Next
start
week?
next week. Yeah, we're
Okay.
just waiting for the box. How you call them?
Yeah,
metal.
the rack for the logs
rack
and
for
the
the
screen.
logs.
and-
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, we ordered it, so it's coming
I mean,
next
that
week.
you can actually Santa. I think could actually get down that. It's huge in there.
Yeah.
Like, you could actually get a fat man.
We'll get
Yeah.
some.
I can
We'll get some
try.
shots of it and
Yeah.
edit it into the episode. But it's an amazing architecture.
Yeah.
Everything
and-
looks so beautiful. The rafters and the beams, the exposed beams, are really
And
really
then
pretty.
we have a beautiful dumbwaiter. You cannot see it on the camera, but we have a dumbwaiter. It's
Yep.
manual dumbwaiter, but it's a very beautiful. And then Ryan was talking about the flavor, the Oregon flavor, but also I wanted to add a little bit of Mexican flavor as well. So we have some tile that is
Very nice.
Mexican tile.
Yep, pops.
The Spanish style in the backsplash over there in the kitchen. So just a little combination of something very welcoming, very warm, very friendly, very
I
approachable.
like it already. Yeah.
It's very cozy, but it's super clean and very professional as well.
Yep. Well, the
Okay.
deck space we haven't talked about. We'll do that quickly.
Yeah,
This
we'll
deck
have-
space is beautiful.
Very nice
Yes.
deck.
You
We'll
did an
have to
incredible
get-
job.
Yeah, the
setting
patio,
that up.
yeah. Yeah, and then we open by appointment only, so it's not like we can have too many people here, but that's kind of private, it's
Right.
kind of like very intimate kind of place. So as you can see, we don't have that many tables. We have just groups, just
Yeah.
one group at a time, just for them our visitors to enjoy the
So,
time.
so tell us a little bit more about what got you here. I mean, obviously you have a background in finance, and Ryan, you're tech.
Yeah, I work for a
Still,
software
right?
company still. Yeah, I still have a day job.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but obviously you still tend to vineyard and pour wines, but what possessed you to
Well,
to embark on such an endeavor?
yeah, well, actually, it was kind of little by little. When I moved to United States in 2002, I was working for technology. It wasn't finance. It was technology as well, marketing and sales. I was doing that for Latin America countries based in the United States. And I met Ryan there. I met him. He was working 2 cubicles from me, and so we see each other all the time. I know. Yeah. And then after 6 months, it was supposed my company in Mexico sent me to develop a project for Latin America countries, but it was going well, and then they needed more time, and they asked me if I could stay 3 more years close in Redwood City, California, so in where the company is, and I was like, sure, why not? And then Ryan heard that, and he asked me to date him, so we start going out. And he's from Oregon, so
Right.
he knows a lot about Pinot Noir. So I kind of fell in love with his passion about Pinot Noir because he grew up in Eugene, Oregon, and
Yeah.
we were coming here to visit his family. He doesn't come from a family that owns a vineyard or anything, or neither I, but we drink a lot. And
Yeah, just being
we-
aware of it was in the area.
Right, yeah. So we were living in San Francisco, so we had Napa Valley as well, or we have Sonoma. So every night we used to drink a bottle of wine, and just to taste that we're very good at cooking. Maybe Ryan better than me, but we're very at cooking. So we always have a bottle of wine there, and then kind of like that intrigues me, and it makes me very passionate about learning more about wine, learning more about the regions. So we start traveling together. Once we got married, we start traveling together, or before too, to different regions in the world. So we start learning more and more and more. And Ryan's passion was one day to grow his own grapes. And I said, well, I can invest in that too, because I really love wine. So we invest our money in when we find this property. So the best place to grow Pinot Noir, it's in Oregon. Yeah. And Ryan is from Oregon. Amen. So we had that idea when we moved from San Francisco. We moved them to Canada, and we started talking about coming here and start scouting the area and see if we could find just a very small property where we can start our own dream. And we start coming almost every month, or maybe every other 2 months, and trying to find the right place. And Ryan was pretty good about trying to find that. So I'm going to pass this to Ryan, because he started looking for the best AVAs in where we could find the best place to grow our grapes.
Yeah, and we were living up in Vancouver, BC at the time. Work had taken us up there. It was a beautiful place. It was hard to leave in many respects, but we really wanted to come to Oregon and start a vineyard and a winery. And so, one of the exciting things about it is I really started to kind of, study the terroir of Oregon. Was I came to this realization that, in Burgundy, they've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years to kind of map out all their vineyards and their terroir, and they know exactly where the best spots are. In Oregon, we're just getting started. The best vineyard may not have grapes on it yet, right? And so it's just really exciting to try and find something. So, and that it also becomes a bit daunting. It's like, well, where's the needle in the haystack if I want to try and grow, some of the best wine in the world. And so, I started to correlate, actually, this will kind of go back to the mathematical side of my brain, but I started to correlate wine scores with areas to try and see if they create a heat map to kind of, start to zero in on some particular areas. And one of the areas that we zeroed in on was here in the Dundee Hills, although actually not a primary focus. I mean, we knew it was great, but it was also very expensive, and it was really kind of somewhat serendipity that we found this place. We had been looking on the Yola Hills, had lunch at the Red Hills Market down here in town in Dundee, and we're traveling up over to see a couple places in Ribbon Ridge, and we came right up Warden Hill Road. And
you were driving with your dad, and I was in Vancouver visiting at our house, and he called me and he says, honey, I think we found a place. There is a 10 acres sign for sale, really close from Winderley, really close from Crumble Rock, because Crumble Rock was right here, Domain Road wasn't here, or Furioso. So, but I was like, really? Yes, just go look on the internet and look at the house, just click on that link and see if you like it and what it is, because there's no one there that can show us right now the place.
Well, this road is prime time. This is like the Broadway of the Willamette Valley, really, in terms of vineyards and wineries.
Yeah, it's the Hollywood Boulevard of the Willamette Valley.
Yeah, so when he called me, I couldn't believe. I was like, that's because I didn't know too
Broadway
much, to be honest.
Though.
I was like,
Wesley,
that's where you want it, right? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, but that's the only place that doesn't have any grapes. I'm like, well, even better, because we wanted to start from scratch. But we were a little bit hesitant about there's no grapes there, right? Yeah. But anyway, so then after that, we came back and we hired the geologists, right?
Yeah, we hired a geologist to come dig soil pits, make sure everything checked out. And one of the really interesting things about the site was the Dundee Hills tends to be, the Jory soils, which are, by definition, they're deep rock-free soil. And we have soil here that's a little more akin to what you typically find in the Yola Hills, which is, a little shallower, rocky, Nakaya and Rittner soils, but we also have some of the kind of traditional Jory, so we've got a kind of mix of all three, and so
that works out well.
It's been really exciting. So we mapped the vineyard into 12 distinct vineyard blocks as a result, which is kind of crazy, but
All right. Well, let's if you don't mind, can we taste a little bit more?
Yeah.
If you haven't finished,
Do you want to take
we're gonna taste a
dump
couple more.
here?
I'm not done,
And
but
then if you want to
Yeah.
pass me the cuvee, hon, and I can just pour the
Mm-hmm.
cuvee.
There we go. So as you do that, Sophia, we had Sam Pata on the podcast. I don't know, late August or
Yeah.
early September.
Yes.
Obviously, another member of AHIVOY with you, and we talked to Sam, and there are a number of times where he's like, you know what, you should talk to Sophia about that. Talk to Sophia. So we've got you now,
Yeah.
and would love to hear kind of one of the things that he really wanted to defer to you on was what are the goals of AHIVOY? What can you look at and say, if this happens, we're succeeding?
Yeah.
And actually, backing up just a minute, give us a brief description of what AHIVOY is.
Yes, so I'm a co-founder of AHIVOY. I was very passionate, along with my two friends, Miguel Lopez and Jesus Guillen. He unfortunately passed away. But we were having different ideas that started in just a coffee conversation at Red Hills Market. And we were talking about how can we help the vineyard stewards? How can we help the Willamette Valley to grow the best grapes, So when I told you that I was working in technology, but I stopped working in that industry in 2017. When I did that, I started getting a little bit more involved in the vineyard with the workers because fortunately that's my first language, so I speak with them in Spanish, and I realized that something was missing. And I talked to Miguel, I talked to Jesus, something is missing. I think there's no real appreciation, there's no real kind of like a community that includes them. We have a fantastic and very nice wine community, but I think they were feeling a little bit isolated or separate, divided.
Right.
So we wanted to bring them into the narrative or the story of the Willamette Valley. And I said, well, if we support the Willamette Valley in able to create or to grow the best grapes in the valley, who are the ones that touch the grapes more than us?
Right.
They're the ones, right? They're the ones that they come here every day, they touch the grapes, they're the ones that they grow the wines in the vineyard.
Right.
So, but if they don't know what they're doing, then it's just like a labor, right? It's just like kind of a robot, like an activity, but it's not like real knowledge that they might have. So we try to, our mission is to help the Willamette Valley by empowering the vineyard stewards through education.
Yeah.
So we partnership with Temecula, and we start creating a program in where the vineyard stewards in the Willamette Valley in Oregon just go to this program, and they learn not only about vineyard, but they learn the whole process until we sell and we put the glass on the table for our visitors. So they see like the whole picture of what they're doing and how important their job is in the valley. So to make them feel that they're part of this important story that we have in front of us, right? So everything has a very important, kind of picture, in the whole story. But we want them to know that they're the foundation of what we have here. And it's going well this week, actually, very quick. This week, actually, we start our program. So we have 11 new students for the second year. Last year, we kind of stopped the first cohort of the program just because of COVID. But this week, they continue what they couldn't continue last year. So we have 20 students total studying at Temecula, learning about vineyard, winemaking, sales, marketing, and wine and tasting room.
That's incredible.
So and that's not just to benefit them; it's to benefit the whole
of us.
Willamette Valley,
Sure.
all of us. So and then the classes are completely in English, so it's English immersion, because I want them to feel more comfortable when they communicate with us in English instead of in Spanish, and maybe that will be to open a door for us to try to speak Spanish too to them, right?
So when they finish the program, they do the coursework. Is there are they placed anywhere for like internships or anything like that?
Well, we're not like
or is it more like connections? You're done with this now.
we don't want them to leave their companies. we want them to stay with their company and to grow with their
Gotcha.
companies.
Okay.
So it's not like
So they're all
you
current
started-
vineyard
yeah.
workers or
Vineyard
wine stewards or whatever.
Yeah, vineyard stewards, that we just want them to get to know the best they can about the wine story or the wine industry community, but without saying, oh, I can get a better job. But if they decided to grow in that career and one day be like me or like Jesus Guillen or, you know, a winemaker, they can do it. I mean, they can do it. That's their decision, right?
Yeah.
So because everybody's kind of like, you always want to, we kind of provide them a career in the wine industry, but we're not the ones that we tell them, oh, you can work here, you can work there.
Gotcha.
We don't want them to leave their own companies because we want them to grow with their own companies.
Yeah.
This is an effort also for their employers. So we want the employers to get that benefit as well when they send the vineyard stewards to and thanks to the Willamette Valley, you know, all the wineries that they give us donations, this program exists, right? Because without their wines, we cannot, you know, have these packages that,
It all works
that we
together.
can get money. Yeah. So it's kind of like the whole wine community that is part of this. Yeah.
What an amazing organization. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And,
Do you wanna-
I mean, just at a real high level, I mean, it's just, it's kind of empowerment through education. And, if you look at our industry and you look at the folks that are working in the fields, they're almost exclusively Latinos. And then if you look inside the winery, you almost see none, and
Yep.
so, part of the idea was to see, like Jesus Guillen's story is just amazing is, he went from, the very bottom of working in a vineyard crew at the, very lowest rung of the ladder there to being the head winemaker, at White Rose.
Right.
It's a pretty spectacular story. So.
One of the top
And
10.
an acclaimed winemaker and a recognized superstar throughout the state of Oregon, not just America, not just.
Right.
And a role model.
Yeah.
Which
Absolutely.
I feel like that's almost, I mean, that's such a huge loss for
Yes.
those, I feel
For
like,
those,
people
yeah.
who are working in the field, not being able to see somebody and go, that's, I want to get there someday.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, blaze that trail.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's, what do you do?
And we
So-
always talk about his story in our, like actually one part of the education, the program, is to talk about the Latinos in the wine industry, so they can see themselves in us,
Yes,
right?
of course.
That is possible, and if that's what they want to do, they want to do. But some people, they just love to be in the vineyard. I mean,
Right.
I love
Yeah,
to
yeah.
work in the vineyard.
So one last question before we take a little break.
Yeah.
We're 4 white guys.
Yes.
What can people like us do to help and support AHIVOY and our vineyard workers or vineyard stewards?
Yeah, I think if you spread the word about, we're gonna need lots of donations, wine donations, packages, that are related with wine, of course, or hospitality, rooms or any packages.
For the
that we can-
fundraising, essentially?
For
Yep.
fundraising efforts, yeah, as well. If you have relationships with people that they would like to hear more about, what fundraisers are locally that we can help, or just send them to us. Because
Yeah.
this is benefit, not just us, it benefits the whole community.
Right.
Education is progress, education is better for the community. So it will be better, not just for them or for us, it will be better for the whole community as
Yeah.
well. So
Absolutely.
I don't know if you have any other ideas.
I mean,
Or you
it's
always
there's kind of two elements to it. There's the employers, right? They're a huge partner in it, and getting the word out to people just so that they know to sign up for the program is huge. So just getting that out, and and of course the other part of the equation is paying for it, right? So
Yeah.
so the fundraising, but just really kind of awareness and getting the word out, I think is probably the biggest thing we could
Well, we
ask
can-
anyone.
we'll
So.
do our
to
best,
and
so,
to support them and to motivate them to come to this program. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Just what does it cost to host a cohort from the beginning to the end?
yeah. So that's a great question. So per student, it costs us around $2,200.
Okay.
It's only 16 weeks. We used to have 20 weeks, but we found out last year that it was a little bit longer, and the employers or also the vineyard stewards, they were a little bit afraid because the season was picking up, like close to summer. So we have to do it at 16 weeks. But they can get credits as well. certification, so they
Cool.
can continue their education if they want to keep going. Like, so for example, I want to learn more about pruning. I want to take like a specific course about pruning in California, for example, or here in Temecula, or Linfield. So we can help them to continue their education. That's extra, but we can continue that. But yes, just to answer your questions, to 2,200 per student.
Which might seem shockingly low, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think, Chemeketa has been a great partner to
Yes.
you guys in
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
and they've made it really affordable. And you guys have a number of folks that come in that are teaching the program that donate
For
their
free.
time.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And,
Yeah, we
and
have
that
Bree
helps.
Stock.
Who?
Bree.
Bree.
She's doing she's doing the WSET level 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Or-
give shout outs to people who are donating now. It's great.
Yeah, we have Carrie Kushner. She's also she's gonna donate her time. We have the people at Temecula. Some of them they donate their time as well. We are employers. They're donating their expertise and their knowledge, to donate that hour. We're gonna have panels with pioneers, and they're donating. They're not charging
Wonderful.
anything. So yeah,
great.
as Brian
good
says,
to hear.
it's part of. I'm just so amazed
A little
of
wine
the support.
community coming together for something good. So,
Yeah.
all right, we're gonna take a little break, and we will be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back to Hospitality. Sophia, you poured us a tasty wine. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so this is a 2017 Cuvée, Cramoisi Cuvée. So this is the best representation of all the Pinot clones that we have in our vineyard. So it's kind of like you're drinking the vineyard in this glass. As Ryan mentioned in the beginning, we planted 11 different blocks of Pinot Noir because we have 12 of the Chardonnay, but Chardonnay is not here. So 11 different blocks in where we mix match rootstock with different Pinot Noirs, depending on the deepness of the soil or the type of soil, just to give the best potential. So this is the best representation of our land. We want to express, again, the personality and the character of our land. Not so much about the oakiness, because we don't sell barrels, but the barrel is the vessel, right? That like makes the wine beautiful and the body of the wine. But we want to express our place. We want when you
Right.
get out of the tasting room, we want you to get that experience that you said, oh my God, that wine, the place.
Yeah.
And then when you open that bottle of wine at your home, or when you share with friends, you're like, oh my God, remember the soil, remember the hike that we have with Sofia and Ryan, and they explain us that smells Cramoisi. So that's what we want with this wine.
It's lovely.
Yeah, so I don't know what you
Rich,
guys think about
silky.
this. It's very earthy.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
I finished it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone already.
Yeah. It's really, really delicious.
Good.
So I wanted to mention too about our supporters of AHIVOY. Catherine Cole has been a big supporter. She offered her house in Portland to have our fundraising event. Ricardo Antunes from Pura Vida as well. He donated all of his food and the space in Pura Vida, McMinnville, for our fundraising efforts. And we have ERAT Foundation that gives us all the money to start our first cohort of students. And last year we have a big donation of the Foley family vineyards as well. So I just wanted to mention
Wonderful.
that. So
Yeah, great. I'm sure there's plenty of people that you're leaving out too that you can't remember right now with the big.
Right, there's so many.
But yeah, no, wonderful. Okay, so gentlemen, we have we're at Cramoisi, and we like to kind of have our top 5 list be associated with where we were visiting. And one of my favorite things that you do here at Cramoisi is the optional vineyard hike, the optional vineyard trek. It is not for the, I don't know, faint of hearts, right? But you better be ready to move because it's uphill and down and wonderful. And I think it's a great experience. So our top 5 today is top 5 wineries with awesome vineyard experiences. And of course, first on our list here, Cramoisi. Tell us a little bit about what you do on the hike.
Yeah, so when the people comes here, I welcome them with a glass of rosé. We're gonna release our 2020 rosé in a few weeks. And so they come here, we start with that, and then I take them to a hike, to a tour. So we go take a row, and then we explain what happens in the vineyard through the year. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about education, so I want people when they come here to educate them in terms of very easy. It's not like very deep kind of thing because I'm not very technical or I don't have also too much knowledge. I'm learning as well, but I can tell them the story of what we do at Cramoisi. We talk about a little bit of the soils, a little bit of the Dundee Hills, and then once we go on that hike, I have my bag with the different wines, and then I pour the wines and I take them to the blocks in where those wines come from, and people just love that.
Ryan, do you do the hikes too?
Oh
yeah. He loves
Like
that.
tag team. See, that's the way to do it. Is to get both of you
Yes.
out there. Then you get.
Oh yeah.
Is there a little bit of that like, no, honey, that's not right, kind of that goes on?
Not anymore, but it
Never.
will.
Never.
You worked
Never
out those
happened.
kinks?
Yeah.
Mama's always right.
See, if it was my vineyard, I would be in the tractor or the four wheeler, kind of nearby, slowly. Not doing the.
But
actual-
Ryan sometimes he does that. He's like, okay, I'm gonna work in the vineyard because
support crew.
yeah.
you know.
So I'm kind of like in charge of the tasting room, but then Ryan is like working in the vineyard, and then he comes in his tractor, and I was like, oh, by the way, that's my husband, and
Yeah, you got the
He's the
glistening.
I
the
keep
eye
on
candy.
dirty,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It's like he got your attention in that cubicle a few years back.
Right. No, but Ryan loves to talk about the terroir. He likes to talk about the soils, and I'm more about talking about the vineyard stores, what they do. I always talk about that, and I think that's key because I talk about the process that we do and the winemaking in the vineyard.
Yeah, getting people out in the vines is such a fun experience because
It
so
is.
many folks that visit just have no idea how much work actually goes into the farming aspect
Right.
and the fact that great wine is really made in the vineyard.
Right.
And then in the production space and cellar, you're really just kind of staying out of your own way.
Right.
Like you're keeping a clean facility, you're
Try not to
checking your
screw it up.
boxes,
Yeah.
but you're not going to like make a great wine if you didn't farm really
Right.
well.
Right.
And when you get
Exactly.
people out and you get to start talking about verasion and, your canopy care or how much fruit you actually drop or, and you watch folks just
Right.
actually fall in love with the process
Yes.
because they're standing in it,
Right.
they get to
Yeah.
touch the leaves.
Yeah.
And it adds so much to that experience. And those are the things people take home. In the tasting room, we always talk about the memories that folks take back with them when they open the bottles.
Exactly.
And so places that offer a hands-on experience, get your
Yes.
shoes dirty, are oftentimes the most memorable once folks go home.
Yeah, and I allow them to, we're organic and biodynamic farmers,
Yeah.
so I allow them to taste the grapes in the vineyard. I'm not very, kind of like, oh no, don't do that. Or like to help me to take the,
There's
when
nothing
we
out there
have-
that's gonna hurt you.
Right.
Yeah, like we talk about the process, and I tell them like if you want to do, the suckers, you can just cut them. I always have my, and they're like, really? Can we? Okay. So kind of like get them involved in our story
Right.
as well. I want them to be part of that, and they go out of here, and then they send me always very good comments about the experience and. The highlight of the day was Cramoisi, that kind of stuff,
If they do the suckers, do they expect a discount on the wine?
right, yeah,
Like,
right?
come on.
Because I work,
I put in
yeah.
an hour.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing that we do. We invite wine club members to be part of Harvest. Last year we couldn't because of COVID, but normally we have a few visitors, like people that are interested in be part of the.
That's a great idea.
And then they donate the buckets to the workers, to the vineyard stores. So.
Oh, that's cool.
But they love it, and then they come and they just harvest maybe 4 buckets. But,
Yeah.
but it's
That's about as many as I can
very
pick without getting tired.
yeah, they love
There's
it.
a lot of people who
They do
want
get
to
a
get
free
a
bottle
few
of wine.
pictures.
They get
well worth it. I'll come do it.
yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously Cramoisi, amazing vineyard experience, great option.
Utopia. Our
Yeah.
buddy Dan,
Our buddy Dan.
he'll when he's in the tasting room, he'll take people out and walk the vineyard.
If you ask Dan ahead of time,
Yeah.
when you book your reservations and say, I want Dan, I want to go to the vineyard, he'll do it. Maybe it's not pouring down rain, I don't know, but he's giving with that. He loves to do it, and he's there oftentimes. And if he has time, he'll do it too.
Yeah. Super knowledgeable.
Yeah, super knowledgeable. The vineyard's right there. He has a great rapport with guests. Very matter of fact and approachable. It's a great option for people. At Utopia.
Another tech guy.
It's true. Another tech guy.
Oh,
Mission.
really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see next. Okay, so
Tech pays well.
it buys a lot of vineyards and in this area. So Authentique, Keeler Estate / Antica Terra site, whatever. So we're kind of bunching those all in together as one. Obviously, we've talked about the Antica Terra tasting that happened at Keeler Estate with their platform, and you jump in the gator and drive up there on the gravelly road and sit on a platform and do this amazing tasting. You can do that with Keeler Estate. You can do that with Gabriella, the owner, and she is a hoot. I don't know if you've met Gabriella from Keeler. She is a kick in the pants.
She's everyone's German grandma by the time you're done.
Yeah.
She'll
reminds
invite
me
you
of my
over for
mom
Christmas.
so much.
It's great.
She's amazing. And then, of course, Antica Terra did the tastings up there. But if you do a tasting with Nicholas Keeler of Authentique, his label, you go further. You go up, round and around and round, and through the forest, and end up at another platform. Have you been out there, Cole? No, there's a different one. And you just keep going, and it's a beautiful, beautiful site. The wines are beautiful. Nicholas is an amazing host, and I highly recommend that experience as well. So,
Bjornson has a waterfall.
they do.
So
Probably pumping right now.
part of their tasting options is you can buy a bottle. They'll sell it to you at 50% off, or they were for a long time.
Oh no.
Can't say that it's gospel right now, but for a long time, you could buy a bottle and do the hike. It's a quarter mile into a waterfall, and then come back and finish your tasting or enjoy the rest of the grounds. But
Did they share the waterfall? It borders Seven Springs.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Yep.
I took it once
it's right
with
up
them.
to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went down with
with
Evening Land.
with Tyron.
Tynan.
Yeah, so he took us there.
Yeah,
with-
yeah, and then they do the same thing.
Well, and AJ just opened, I think this week, AJ's opening that new tasting room
Yeah.
out on that Seven Springs.
That it
road.
makes more sense.
Which is gonna
to
be
do
cool.
It there
I
than
know.
Yeah, we gotta
down
get out.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta get out.
AJ, we're going to call you, buddy.
And that would have been probably on this list, the Seven Springs experience, but it was sort of like a special thing they did a couple times a year.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
maybe next year, guys.
There we go.
Yeah.
And it teams up a little bit with the Bjornson. We can do that.
Absolutely.
Double. Yeah. And then Flaneur.
Flaneur.
That up on Kingsgrade Road. They've got the Ghost Barn. They have two barns, one of which you can actually climb up onto an observation deck on the roof of it. And it is an extraordinary view. And you kind of walk down through the vineyard to get down there. It's one of those top experiences in the valley. Not just for beautiful view, but just, I don't know, there's something about it.
And the barn survived the Chehalem Mountain fire, the Bald Peak fire.
True.
It got really close
Yeah,
to that
it-
property.
Not too far.
Yeah. So they survived.
3 days.
One we didn't
Yeah.
put on was Beaufrere. If you
We talk about Beaufort a lot.
We do.
So,
So we don't
there-
sound like homers.
I could have talked about the Domaine Wa one.
That's true.
I know you're thinking, fuck you, Stefan.
There are
You
too
didn't
many good
I
experiences.
do have.
Yeah.
There's
I
a
do-
lot,
I
you
have
know.
another to add. JL Kiff, if you haven't been, is
Yeah.
an amazing vineyard, and they have. It's an awesome educational experience. They're tasting. It's a
Yeah.
lengthy experience, and if you want, they'll walk you down to the vineyard, and they do a really good job with it.
Yeah.
Vineyard education, and yeah.
Yeah, so if you're coming out to the valley or you live here and you haven't done a vineyard walk, the places are available. You just kind of got to look around,
Right.
call any one of us, and we'll
Your-
send you
Message
some of
us
our
if you
favorite
need
Your
places.
tour guide
Recommendation.
should ask you if you want to do a vineyard walk.
And if your tour guide doesn't, find another tour guide.
Yeah, there you go.
If you haven't,
And it's good to tell the visitors to bring a pair of shoes, outdoor shoes.
Yep.
And because sometimes I see ladies that they have high heels, and of course that's very difficult to take them out. So, but yeah, I mean it's good to.
Red bottoms don't go very well with the vineyard. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Exactly. Yeah. So, but they want to go. I mean, there's some ladies that also they take them off and then they
Yeah.
walk without shoes.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to get hurt.
Troopers.
So, yes, yeah. So, yeah.
Did we have a camera scare?
Just making sure. I always second guess myself.
One of the places we like to take people here in the vineyard is Sofia's block, and it's sitting down there. Do you guys want?
Oh, yeah, let's taste that.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's go.
Whoa. Well, if you insist, we'll drink some
And
more.
Ryan can talk about that because that's Sophia's blog. So it's kind of talking about myself. So I don't want.
Okay. Ryan can pour, you can talk, Sophia.
No, I'll pour and Ryan talk.
Okay,
because this
either
is
way,
Sophia's
I'm good,
block, yes.
Yeah, so well, Sophia's block, we make aside from the cuvee, which was the kind of the blend of all the different blocks, we make two other Pinot Noirs. One is Sophia's block, so it's a block designate. So we harvest the grapes out of the same place in the vineyard every year. It does something kind of special. It's kind of a Goldilocks in terms of the the depth and the rock content and the soil there. And it's Sophia's favorite clone, which is 667.
Okay.
One of the Dijon clones, and in our opinion, one of the few clones that really makes a standalone wine all on its own. So, and then the other wine that we make that we probably won't get a chance to open today just due to time, which will be the Reserve, which is a barrel selection. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a matter of time, we can stay for a
45.
fourth segment.
It's the best.
Yeah.
But and I mean, just the aromas of this wine is just so beautiful,
lovely.
so elegant. It's very silky smooth in the palate, earthy, kind of after the rain smell of the soil.
Yes.
That's what I like that Dijon
Yeah.
667.
And Drew still makes your wines, is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay.
He helped us, yeah.
Drew Boyd?
Drew Harper Boyd, yeah.
Yep.
Drew Boyd,
Yep.
yeah. So he helped us with Jessica West. They're our winemaker consultants, yeah.
Yeah, they do. What a wonderful job.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you're learning winemaking a little bit on the side, correct? Can you talk
Yes.
about that just a tiny
Yeah,
bit
sure.
before we get to
Sure, yeah.
sports?
So I asked Dickie Rath 3 years ago.
Well, he's our former neighbor, so
Right.
Yeah.
he was just right up
Yeah,
the
Prince
hill
Philip
here.
Woods.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, so we became friends, and then I asked him when he was moving, he was selling his vineyard and his house, and I asked him if what he was doing with all his equipment, because he makes the solo barrel every year since 1965. And I said, what are you going to do with your equipment? And I'm like, do you want to put it in my garage and we can make wine together? And I was expecting he would say no, but he said, really? Okay, sure, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, done. So we built kind of like a little garage winery. And I started making wine with him. So I make the first wine that I made, it was a rosé sparkling wine. It's very nice. It's a garage sparkling, and then
Great, just for
I
fun.
make the first actually half whole cluster wine in the garage, and that wine we make it especially for Ryan's dad. So we gave him half of the barrel just because of the work that he helped us to do here. So we make a special label for him just for fun. He was so happy. He was crying when he when he saw the bottle and the label, because he's a musician too. He has several hobbies, so we have a picture of him playing the guitar, and so I'm start learning winemaking too, because I wanted to. I'm a very curious person, so I wanted to know every aspect of the winemaking. I really admire, as well as I admire the vineyard stewards, I admire the winemakers, because there's so much going on in the chemistry of winemaking that is just like, if you just screw up one thing, that wine is not going to be very good. So, so I start making garage wine. Just
Fun.
for to know a little bit more about that in my house. Yeah.
Got to start somewhere.
Now, when you guys were in California, you said wine became a part of your evening experience every night. Was there that one bottle of Oregon wine at the beginning of your exposure that was like, this is it? This is one of the moments you fell in love.
From Sonoma.
We used to take a lot of trips up into the Russian River Valley. We had
Alexander Valley.
Yeah. So, but we would, when we could, visit Rocciolia. It was hard to get in there. I think Porter Creek was another one that we used to like to go to. That one had this really kind of cool, funky, experience where you would go in. It was almost like you were in like a shed on the property. It was just, and you're
Like Sophia's garage. You know?
really good Pinots though. Neat small place. Right in there in some of the primest of territory in the Russian River Valley. But from an Oregon perspective, one of the wines that really kind of caught our attention was DuPont here in the Dundee Hills. We really love their wines. Boy, we had
I love Marsh. Marsh. That was one of the first ones that I tasted, and I was like, oh my God, that's good. And it's just our neighbor.
Right.
So,
Old wines.
Yes, old wines. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the old wines.
Beautiful
It's
wines.
so good.
But
I love going up and just looking at their vines. They just have such, there's, compared to a lot of the young vineyards around here, it's cool thing
Yeah,
to walk
Yeah,
Jim
that vineyard
Marshall.
has a soul.
It does.
For sure.
It does.
very cool.
Yeah.
And
So.
And that's might be my favorite story I've heard here in the Dundee Hills and talking to everybody. Jim Marsh used to work downtown and for PwC, and he would get from here to downtown Portland in like under 25 minutes because he said there was one stoplight when he first moved here between here and downtown Portland.
That is so awesome.
Yeah,
They've added a couple more.
25. Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my goodness.
Maybe that or his story about blowing up a rock with dynamite and then the real estate people showed up, but that's maybe
you
a different
shouldn't say
day.
that.
Different day.
Yeah, another one.
That might be an after session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one was from Evening Land.
Behind the scenes,
Evening Land.
Evening Land that
Yeah.
got my attention too. The Winderleys as well. They
Yeah.
were my favorite as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But Evening Land, they used to have the queen.
Yeah.
All right.
The red queen, something like that.
We're going to move on to our sports minute.
Okay.
We're sticking with our New Year's resolution, hell or high water, of talking at least a little bit of sports.
Yeah.
Cole, go first.
Well, I spent Sunday evening watching the Steelers game with my girlfriend's brother-in-law is a diehard Steelers fan, and so I was watching the game with him and their family. And being a Chargers fan for life, I understand what it's like to see your team just get their asses kicked in the playoffs, even by their rival. So
Embarrassed.
I was there to empathize with him and tell him everything he needs to do and, how he should feel and all this stuff. But no, I
I'm sure
mostly
he
just shut
appreciated
up
that.
and just was like, I'm so sorry, man. This sucks so bad. I'm sure they'll come back. And then
I've
they
been there. Yeah, exactly.
So they lost to the Browns, who haven't been in the playoffs in like 20 years and haven't won a playoff game for like 40 years. So,
Juju probably should have kept his mouth shut.
yeah.
Just saying. But
So, yeah.
What are you gonna do?
So it wasn't so bad the Chargers didn't make the playoffs because I was reminded that they would have just lost in the first round anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Some local reporter decided to tweet out that Dame and CJ weren't the best backcourt in basketball. And Dame called him out after the game. The reporter happened to be on one of the Zoom calls, had a question for Dame, and Dame's response is, "Oh, you're the guy that said CJ and I aren't the best backcourt in basketball." And the guy, you could hear him stutter and kind of freeze. He's like, "Well, I said that, outside of maybe the Wizards, there's a..." And CJ just looks at...
outta here.
Dame just looks at the camera and keeps his mouth shut. The guy continues to ask his question, and he just sits there and stares at the camera. SVP on SportsCenter ended his segment with that. They both just
That's
sat there in
amazing.
silence and stared into the camera.
Dude, Dame is cold-blooded. He knows. I mean, he
Right.
watches.
Right.
That's why when he hits those crazy threes and does the
Dame time.
he takes a lot of pride.
The same thing that Jordan has where
Prideful.
he creates this thing that somebody has against him in order to get a competitive advantage.
Right.
And if it's real or not, don't matter. He's pissed at them for what they might have said or what he heard they said.
Right.
When at this point
Yeah.
in the season, they've accomplished what only two other backcourt duos have.
Yeah.
One is the Celtics backcourt this year, and then it was Steph and Clay. 3 years in a row. But just the number of points they've scored.
That's funny. Local guy, you gotta
Look
watch
out.
it.
Yeah.
They
Dame,
remember.
Dame's reading
Yeah,
your
man.
tweets.
You want a hot take? Try something different maybe than getting blackballed by the only people that matter in the town that you report on in the only sport that matters in the town that you report on.
Literally the only sport.
The death stare. The death stare. And breaking news: James Harden traded to the Nets and not the Sixers. So obviously, the Philadelphia fan base has totally calmed down and everything is fine, right?
No.
Bradley Beal, trade Ben Simmons for Bradley Beal, and that'll solve all our problems. Well, anyway, so
Because the Sixers have lost so many games already this year.
Right, the
They need
Nets are
find-
going to be like the Kardashians of this
Oh,
season. It's
God.
just going to be prime time drama.
that is glorious.
I am.
They're just what a joke,
I can't wait till Kyrie falls apart.
dude.
'Cause
Hopefully
you know
not.
he's the first.
Hopefully not physically, but
No. He just throws a tantrum.
Well, he's getting investigated by the NBA. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I don't know. I don't even know why he's
Flat
taking
Earth-
all this
flat
time
Earth
off.
conspiracy-
Yeah, that's
conspiracies.
why. Yeah,
They're looking into whether or not he had real evidence or not.
exactly.
Sophia, you got a sports take.
I love my kids playing sports. That's my passion.
Yeah.
That's as a mom, I'm their number one fan. So Jonathan, he's 14 and he plays basketball and football, and Mateo is 15 and he plays water polo and basketball. Water polo is really one of my favorites, just because it's something different. It's a very aggressive sport. It's a very fast sport. You always have to start. I have to be moving all the time. So that sport is just magnific. And then in Newburgh, we have the lucky that it's just the best sport. They're always
Dominant.
Yeah, they're dominant. They're champions, but they work really hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're at
Doesn't
that
happen by
spot
accident.
because they work really
Yeah.
hard. They had double. How to call those in the morning?
doubles?
They come in the morning
Yeah.
and in the afternoon. They train for how many hours? 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
We had a
And-
couple of polishers at Roy that were water polo kids. They were
Really?
seniors.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute sweethearts
Stella.
and jacked.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
there's a 17-year-old girl that could probably lift more than me.
Yeah.
Very good
they're,
shape.
They're pure muscle.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's just crazy. Yes.
basically 45 minutes of trying to drown each other. And
Yeah,
stay
Yeah.
alive.
the trap.
Surviving, trying to survive because
Right.
somebody is trying to put you down.
Yeah, no, any year that Newburgh Water Polo doesn't win the championship is a disappointment. Like
Yeah.
they expect to win the
the
championship,
standard.
boys and
Yeah.
girls every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's-
they have
it's-
an amazing Newburgh High School coach, is Jim McMaster. He's
Yeah.
Yeah.
crazy, but very good. The
Yep.
kids miss him a lot
need a little
because
crazy.
last year we didn't have anything. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, for Newburgh, it's water polo and wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
those are the
exactly.
two
Yeah.
good sports.
And Jim didn't care that I wrestled. He just tried to recruit me into the water polo team. He doesn't care. Jim would try to recruit the star quarterback on the football team for his water polo team. Like,
Go big.
Right.
and sometimes you know what I mean, to be successful because he is that good of a coach
Yes,
and recruiter. He's just like,
Oh
you'd
my
be great at
gosh.
water polo. I remember
He's
in middle school being like, how would you
an
know? I'm like 5'2",
international.
like 100
He
pounds.
looks for international players to come and do an exchange.
Oh
here.
yeah,
He's like scouting
that's amazing.
everybody. Yes.
That's amazing.
And he's trying to find homes for them too. Like, hey, Sofia, can you have this guy from Spain? You know, like he's really good at water polo. And I'm like, okay, sure.
You think he just must wake up and he's just the first thing that comes into his mind. He's like, where am I going to find another kid that's going to play water polo?
Because it's really
An
hard.
obsession, no
It's
doubt.
a very, very hard sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
hard. Not everybody can do that. I'm
I can barely
happy.
swim, so
That's why I
hats
chose
off
not
to
to
all
do
you
it.
kids.
I
Exactly.
think I could have.
Right.
So that's my passion, but my favorite sport. Yeah.
Okay, that is going to do it for that segment. We'll be right back for our last segment, which includes our Westco Wine update and what's beautiful and what's brutal.
7.
Welcome back to Haas Brutality. Time to give a little bit of Westco Wine update. On my end, there was one piece of paperwork I forgot to get signed, so afterwards we're going to get one more piece of paperwork signed for the bank.
There's so many pieces of paper.
It's only been a
signed,
week, and
and we haven't even got to the OLCC and the
can
TTD
you tell me
yet.
about that? I don't know that project. Can
so,
you tell me a little
yes, we started a wine project this summer
Uh-huh.
because Cole met a lovely lady, and they kind of got talking, through his travels.
It wasn't a lovely lady like you're thinking. It was a woman. It was a patient of mine where I work at the hospital.
Okay, I didn't want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
No, she was in there for a treatment or something
Yeah.
like that, and they got talking about wine because she said, "Oh, I can't even get around my vineyard," or whatever. And so Cole's like, "Hey, I know some guys that'll help you out."
We always we talk ourselves into trouble.
Yeah.
And this
Right.
was one of those
I
scenarios.
essentially told her we could farm her vineyard, and I did disclaim like
We don't know anything.
we don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing, but like we got healthy legs, and I know a bunch of people, and I told them about these guys, and that we kind of do our little podcast,
And
I,
we've got a dream.
I basically texted them when I got out of the exam room, and I was like, "Hey, I met this lady. Like, what do you guys think?" And then, of course, they were both on board, and then Stefan can continue, but it was
But basically,
Just by
her
chance.
vineyard needed a lot of love. Had massive mildew issues, phloxera. I mean, big time.
Well,
And-
we got in halfway through the growing season. So it was
Yeah.
June when we met her. It's been organically farmed for 30 plus years. And so we were halfway through basically only 1 or 2 sprays by June. And as organic and biodynamic, you know how regimented you have to be. So
Right.
we walked into a sticky situation. It hadn't even been like suckered or it was everywhere. So we went in, we did as much as we could to kind of prune some of the foliage back, cut some of the suckers. Actually, our biggest mistake is that all the advice we got from our farmer friends was pull those suckers, like,
Well, Laurel told us.
and Laurel,
to cut
but the
them,
very
yeah.
best fruit, the half that we didn't sucker, the highest quality fruit came from those suckers, that were coming out of basically the
They
rootstock.
had taken all
They
the
were coming out of the
nutrients.
ground.
Oh
They-
wow.
And
So-
the spraying, we found out, we think the sprayer might have been hitting too low. So it was actually spraying like a lot of the little suckers at the bottom for the few times it happened sprayed that year. So we're going through, and again, we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
And it's
so,
5 acres.
So we're like, okay,
That's
we've
the
been
way you
shown how to
learn, huh?
sucker. We'll cut everything off at the bottom, even if there's a perfect mass, like huge cluster at the bottom. And that's what we ended up doing. So then when we're harvesting, we're like, holy shit. Like, we're going down these rows, there's like just barely anything on these vines. And we're like, oh yeah, I cut like 3 massive clusters off this bush, a few weeks ago.
Huge sucker, laden.
We're like picking, and I'm pulling some of the tall grass back. And guys, down on the ground,
Those were the best
there's
clusters.
gold. Like,
So-
everyone go back to the beginning of your row
Yeah.
and start pulling this grass back because
But this was after smoke. So we pressed it all off to white, to basically a rosé.
so it's Pinot Gris, and a tiny bit of Tempranillo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it tastes good. And we're gonna have something. Chris Berg is making it over at Roots.
Okay.
And we're
And so
selling
anyway.
for $75 a bottle.
Yeah,
Okay.
75 for a
We're going for
6
the
ounce can.
exclusive.
Yeah.
There's only
Yeah,
2
yeah.
barrels, so it's like we might as well price it up.
If you told the story, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
people-
There you
people
go.
will get it.
Exactly. The story
beautiful
sells the
story.
wine.
We
Yeah.
need to appreciate that.
Yeah,
Like,
no, we're putting
you
it in
guys
cans.
But
went
part of the reason we're doing the podcast is to kind of share our experience. Like, so you want to start a wine label, this is what our experience is doing
In real
it.
time, this
I
is
think
very
I love that
difficult.
you guys are doing that because now you know
Yeah.
what we're going through.
Right.
And you bring us the people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Stefan.
Yeah.
And you're like,
We know from
you
like
know.
a very armchair expert type of
Yeah.
position what you're going through. We don't
Right.
know. That's the best thing is we get a tiny taste of what sort of some of our guests,
right,
on a massive scale have done.
right.
And
yeah.
like we're saying, I mean, just like the paperwork,
right, yeah.
it's essentially come down to.
I hate paperwork.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Did you guys get your label approved by the federal government yet?
Well,
Well, we're not there
that's
yet.
You
coming.
haven't got that far. Okay.
No.
So,
we
Signing
don't.
your
We're
label.
just getting our bank account.
we might have Shiner cans that
Yeah.
we don't actually sell for several months.
No, we have an LLC.
Okay.
That's done. We have almost a bank account.
Yeah.
So when those
Almost
two
there.
things are in place,
So you got 0.
it's only taken
dollars?
3
so then
weeks.
TTB is next, I
Right.
believe, and then
OLCC.
OLCC,
Yeah.
then label approval. So we might not be selling it until like July. I
Don't
think,
worry
or-
about the bank account because it's gonna be
It's
zero.
just amazing that
Yeah.
not everybody
No,
starts a
we're
business, it's
we're
so easy.
giving money to the bank for
Right,
several
bleeding.
months. Just
Exactly.
bleeding.
like
yeah.
it's $7.50 a month to open a business bank account. We're like,
Yeah.
We don't have that.
I don't want to.
Exactly.
All
There's
right,
nothing to put in there.
here we go.
No, it's
But-
fun, but it's just it's a long process.
It's very
Right.
eye-opening.
Yeah.
We've had some wonderful people helping us along the way with advice, and
Yeah.
of course the vineyard stuff, Jackson
Right.
Holstein and Chris and everything. And
nice.
but the paperwork aspect doesn't fit any of our strengths. So we're definitely
So we just let
it's
Steph
slow going, and I'm just slogging through it. Yeah, they each have full-time jobs. Obviously, I'm not doing as much because of COVID, so it's kind of on me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, we're just trusting he fills out the paperwork correctly, and then we
So
show up and we show up and sign things like we're gonna.
So
like,
what's
oh,
the
by
next-
the way.
what's the next step? Where
Yeah.
you guys at? right
Next
now?
step, well, we're gonna get that. So we're gonna get the bank account, and then hopefully our loyal listeners can contribute a little bit to at least the podcast to help us pay for some of our equipment and stuff.
Oh.
So that ideally would happen next, but the TTB I think is the next step.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
OLCC.
When
Become-
we're working
you're
on
a
our-
wholesaler to the TTB, right? Yeah, you become a wholesaler.
Thankfully,
Right.
with working with Chris Berg, we have like
Oh.
he's able to help facilitate
He's the one
because
that
he has the
TTB
active
Right.
winemaking space.
Yep.
Yeah.
So at least for
The
this
bond.
year,
That's
we've got a
helped us
little bit of a
a little bit.
cushion
Oh yeah.
and someone who's done this before.
Right.
I feel
It's
like
it's
every time
eye-opening.
we see him,
He
we're
has
like,
lots of experience.
Well, and
Chris.
the cans too. He has so much experience with specifically canned wine. So yeah, we're working now on kind of the label and the name of the actual can. Our company is called Westco. That's our names combined, or the beginning of
So
our
where
names
the
combined.
name comes from?
So
West.
it's Wesley Stefan Cole,
Oh,
Westco,
okay.
like West Coast.
Okay. Yeah.
And then right now we're figuring out, okay, what's this first rosé, bubbly rosé going to be called specifically? And then working on a little design for a label. So
Which brings us to what's the next update. So Cole's been working
yeah,
on a couple designs. We're gonna put up some of our working inspirational words was porch, because we sit on my porch and drink a lot, and dream. So porch, dreams was one of the ones that we kind of were kicking around. What were some of the other ones?
Brose.
Yeah, brose, we were talking about. Wesley kiboshed that, which
I mean, if I get
Yeah, that
overruled
has
by
to be
the
wine.
That reminds me of the Seinfeld episode.
yeah,
I like it, but
I know it reminded. As soon as I
Don't
heard it,
forget the rosé word.
as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, this is straight from a Workaholics episode.
yeah,
I don't know. We want to be somewhat.
That's funny. But you guys
But
look-
it is interesting too, because people in real time are getting to watch 3 different people, and we agree on a lot of stuff. Like, we have a lot of similarities,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's also really important to each of us that we get it right, because it's a passion project. And so we have so many conversations
Oh my
where it's
gosh.
like, here's an idea, and 1 or 2 of us would be like, I don't know.
burn the boats. Oh, God. So other ideas for this, for the 2020 was fire, and then another one of our themes kind of brotherhood. You know, so we're trying to kind of incorporate, and actually Cole is an excellent artist, and it kind of actually works really well because there's 3 of us, and Cole's what would you call pen and ink? What would you call your
pen and ink,
style?
abstract.
And basically
line
what he does is he takes like a larger picture, like the state of Oregon or something, and then starts kind of like a doodle in a way, and doodling in these different images and symbols. And so I'm thinking that we're going to kind of go that direction
Right.
potentially with
Yep.
at least with this label.
Because wine cans, the art on them have historically been so boring. Like, they get their point across, but they're so boring. And I went into social goods and was looking at the beer selection.
Oh, it's so
And
awesome.
breweries are doing incredible things with their cans. You have these like psychedelic IPA cans.
It's like a piece of art.
It is.
It is, yeah.
And they're
Can.
fun, and it's something out of the ordinary. And
Right.
we're fun, and we're out of the ordinary. So
Well, ideally somebody will get really drunk and look at the can and go, "Oh, there was a squirrel on there!" Like, you know, so
Yeah.
it has layers.
we
That's what we
we
want.
want people to enjoy the actual art in the can, and then hopefully it sets sort of a trend for what our sort of style looks like in the future as we do more different kinds of wines.
Is there Pinot Noir planned?
Yeah.
So that's a bigger question. So we're waiting to have a conversation with the vineyard owner at the moment to see sort of what the future of our land lease or whatever that might look like.
Yeah.
Because if that's, I mean, we either need to move forward and start like pruning the vineyard and organizing our spray schedule and
Because
you
it's
know,
own-rooted Pommard in Vadensville.
it's
That's,
off David
what,
Lett's
35
original
years
South
old?
Block.
Wow.
You know,
Old
so
vines.
it's a beautiful vineyard. It needs a lot of work.
Huge potential.
Yeah.
But we have probably a 3-week window where we need to figure out, are we farming this vineyard again, or do we need to find a new direction to go? Are we going to purchase
they're
fruit
grapes,
next year?
yeah.
Is there, you know,
So
so
we're going to make a Pinot, yes, the answer is that. But we're just right now figuring out whether that's going to be in this state this right now, because this was sort of a backroom deal in the sense that we were like, hey, we take half the fruit if we farm the vineyard, and she said yes. And then now it's okay. Do you want to continue this? How do you feel about it? And she actually just had some medical stuff done, so it's been kind of hard to get together and meet and things
Right.
like that.
Right.
It's a lot of bodies.
we kind
A
of
lot
actually
people.
have to approach this like a real business now because it is
Yeah.
a real business.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and again, like for folks watching and the folks that we get in our vehicles, it's always that question. Like, I think I could do this. Like, we could retire. We could sell our house in the Hamptons, you know,
Oh,
and
God.
come start a
Yeah.
vineyard. It's like, really?
Yeah, you
Like,
can become
let me see your
really-
hands. Do you have any calluses?
Right,
If no, like,
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
you're not going to do
Yeah.
this.
We were getting up early. We were doing the work. Got a
Yeah.
little
It's
taste
a
of
lot
it.
of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a lot of
And it's fun, but it's hard. Like
It
it's
is. Yeah.
that's what some people don't understand. Is like, yeah, it's fun, but it's hard. You're
It is
tired
very
at the end of the
hard.
day. Like
Right.
it adds
Yes.
up. So.
When it gives you a whole new appreciation for the vineyard stewards, even doing some of the vineyard work
Mm-hmm.
at Roy, you know, like watching a crew, seeing their pace, and then they're like, here, you're going to sucker. And it takes me 8 hours to get from the top of our north block all the way to the bottom. One
Yes.
row
Yes.
on my hands and knees,
Yes.
suckering.
Yeah.
And I look over and, you know, the entire east side of the vineyard is done.
It's done. Yeah.
They're pretty
Oh,
fast. Yeah.
my gosh.
Skill-
Well,
the
in the
skill- amount of
beginning, I
skill.
thought they were slow,
Yeah.
but then when I would start doing it, I was like,
Right.
oh, they're
Well, and especially, you know, there's pivotal moments
fast.
in the farming process that you're really you're influencing the next 2 years of growth.
Yeah.
When you're suckering, you're setting up this year's fruit, your caning system, and what's going to be next year's cane arms, you know?
Right.
And it's the attention to detail over a
Yes.
long,
'Cause you get stirred
cold
up.
or hot day has to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I see you're learning a lot.
I'm learning a lot.
Very good.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. All right. What's beautiful and what's brutal? So beautiful. Chehalem Ridge.
Yeah, an email for all you industry folks that follow the podcast. I got this today, and I called them, but I called them late in the day, so hopefully they don't get mad at me for sharing this. But they're offering Chehalem Ridge Bed and Breakfast is offering 50% off rates for industry folks during cellar season. So they're one of our neighbors. They've been great at, calling us and providing
Yep.
some tour guests, and it really is a beautiful facility. So if you're in the industry, it's been a tough year.
Yeah.
Hit
Get
'em up.
out there. I went up with Megan.
Yeah.
They did it before Christmas. They offered it briefly. Megan and I went up there and stayed in just a wonderful room. And I mean, that view is, you're at the top of the mountain. You are hanging
Yeah,
off
Newburgh
the
looks
edge.
flat below you.
Yeah.
It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a wonderful view. And the breakfast was delicious.
Chehalem Ridge? Or what?
Chehalem Ridge,
Chehalem
yeah,
Ridge.
kind of up above the Allison. You just go up
Oh, we have to
Bell and then hang a left onto mountain top. Mountain top.
Yep.
The breakfast is not just like granola and whatever.
three-course
It's-
breakfast.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really, really yummy.
So they're awesome neighbors. They're offering a really sort of sweet offering to all of us industry folks, and
It's open now.
it's open now. You can go reserve. If you're in the industry, maybe email them since I'm the one telling you about this. But
Well, you can book it with a code. I believe.
the special rate code
Yeah.
is industry.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Yeah, recommend.
if you're not industry, be a good Boy Scout.
Oh.
and don't
Whoops, nice job.
do
Wesley.
that. But
I'll just beep it out. I'll beep it out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then the other beautiful thing is, so at OHSU, we've been testing thousands and thousands of people for COVID, obviously, over the last 9 months, 10 months now. And this week we first started to do vaccines. So it's starting with very specific groups of people that are designated by healthcare providers. But the plan is once the OHA has approved this process and sort of we worked out the kinks of how we're going to do the vaccines, they will be available to the public, just the actual public, not specified groups of the public. So not to give you an actual date or to tell you how to do it right now, but just in the next weeks, there will be vaccine clinics available. And also, not only is OHSU doing this, which has sort of bared the burden of this crisis, honestly, for all the hospitals in the state. Everyone else has just kind of laid out and been like, yep, OHSU will test you. So we've done thousands,
Far more
over
organized.
100,000 tests, actually. But Kaiser, the Port of Portland, Providence, and everybody else is now jumping on board. So we're seeing, I think the numbers are going to be able to just be ridiculous for Oregon. And we would like to be, kind of set the example for what the rest of the country is sort of throwing their hands up right now and being like, we don't know how to roll this thing out. So we think we're just crushing it. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to give an update as to how you can get a vaccine. And hopefully, yeah.
It's exciting.
Cole's gotten
Thanks
his.
for that.
I've gotten
Yeah,
mine.
Yeah, I'll
cheers
drink
to
to
that.
that. Vaccines. Cole got his. My wife apparently can get hers next week. So cheers.
Cheers for that.
Cole got it. I gave him the old pat down and I scanned him. No microchips.
Yeah,
So
but I have full bars wherever I go. So
okay.
I don't know why.
he's,
5G.
He's actually now.
My phone just says 5G all of a
Right,
sudden.
right, exactly.
He's his
So
own
the-
Wi-Fi
That's
hotspot.
what Ryan said.
Yeah.
You
Just
have
like,
one
do
in
you
your
want to use your
phone.
hotspot? Sure, I guess I will.
Yeah, this is the chip right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
You
And
carry it around voluntarily all
If
day.
you take it into the Capitol, we can track you.
Everybody has a chip.
or not.
Yeah.
We're
you wanna
we're
look at
part
his-
Android already because we have this on our bodies at all times.
What I really want to do is be able to implant it into my head, and then I can.
It's
so
coming.
I won't have to remember
It's
it. It's
coming.
always with me.
Isn't the vaccine?
Your son might figure that thing out.
Yeah. he probably
Oh
will.
my God, no.
All right,
Thanks.
and brutal. We don't have. It's not. What's kind of beautiful is we don't have much in the way of brutal, but I have what I would call kind of somewhere in the middle in a conflict. What I've seen, I was out a little bit out in the world here in the Willamette Valley between some tasting rooms and some restaurants. I see places not following the rules to the letter. But every time that I've seen that, I've looked at it and gone, that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see, it's not like Old Town Bar and Grill, where it's a big fuck you, freedom, whatever. It's people actually being responsible, but taking some liberties with the guidelines that are around. And so I think that's kind of encouraging to see in a way, because I know like last week Charles definitely he did not like that restaurants were shut down. I don't have a good solution. Sure. Obviously, I didn't have a good solution to add, but I watched, as I saw these vineyards and I saw these restaurants bending the rules, I go, see, that seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
So
They're doing what you got to do. They're doing what they have to do to keep their doors open.
Yeah, within reason.
Totally.
And I mean, they're adults, but
Right.
then not everybody's an adult. But then look what happens with an Old Town or something,
Sure.
Right.
which has gotten a cease and desist order from operating. And
Well, yeah.
that's
There's
we already
a
covered
lot
that.
more on that I've learned since last week, but for the safety of my family, I'm not going to talk about that.
Well, we'll talk about it off
We'll,
camera. So anyway, that's
Yeah, I mean,
it's interesting.
It
I find
is. It's
fascinating.
brutal that they're having to do that, to be honest. But at the same time, I think it is beautiful that
Yeah.
they're sort of finding a way, and the restaurant community is sort of just trying to make it
Just
make
trying
it
to
through
survive.
the last bit of this thing. And,
Carlton Coast,
Right,
did you
yeah.
see that? The little
hopefully we won't
tavern
go out to eat.
out front, they had 4 individual tables, and they built like curtain systems that kind of went around
Oh wow!
each table.
I like it.
And that was one that
Yeah.
like looked like
Safe.
pretty good. Like,
But-
it's
but-
an individual. You can open it if you need to, but they don't
Does it
have covered
follow
patios.
the letter of the law?
Nope.
Probably not. But is it completely safe?
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You're
Like,
in
the
your
guidelines
group, so-
couldn't have been specific enough, especially with the restaurant thing. And of course, we disagree on, or people disagree on the way that it's been rolled out. But I think what you're saying, Stefan, is like sometimes it's impossible to live up to like every single standard. But they're doing whatever the hell they can to keep people safe. They're making sure their stuff is clean.
Well, you've
and
said
wiped down.
don't make perfection the enemy of good or
Yes,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah. So.
Exactly.
All right, that was wonderful. I had a ball. These wines were
Yes,
delicious.
thank
You
you for
guys are
hosting.
wonderful. I highly
Thank you.
recommend all of you to come up to Cramoisi, drink some wine, buy some wine,
Buy
have
a
a great
lot of
time,
wine.
and
Come and visit.
yeah.
Take a black tie tour up to Cramoisi.
Hey,
Heck
you
yeah,
know,
there it
we
is.
get up from time to time. I'll tell you what.
Do it.
It's because people are happy.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you guys were a-holes and people didn't have a good time, guess what? You wouldn't see me. You wouldn't see us. So, but that's not the case. So,
Well, thank you so much. This was fun.
Yeah, cheers to y'all.
enjoy.
My pleasure.
Cheers
Thanks for
for
having us.
2021.
to 2021. I'll
Yes.
drink to that, and we
Yeah,
will see you
absolutely.
next week.